This is a very old, rough bark Chinese elm. And as you can see, we've just let the trunk get hollow. And all this hollowing is completely natural. It has never been carved. And it has calloused over nicely. So a very natural looking tree. Nothing artificial about it. And here it's come to Wisley to spend the next 6 months to a year on show. And I'm just giving it a final refining trim before we leave it here. This is our Wisley bonsai collection, and as you can see, we reinstated the collection in 2012, and this is the garden, and this is the credit which comes to Heron's Bonsai. And these trees were loaned to Wisley by myself and my wife, and in fact it was a gift to Wisley back in 1997. So we've been displaying at Wisley for the last 22 years. It's a lovely garden. I created this garden, and this site was given to us in 2012. But we've been at Wisley for more than 22 years, so we've had 3 different positions in the garden, and I will show you pictures of what the garden looked like earlier. What is interesting about the Wisley collection is that more than half of all the bonsai here are actually created by myself at our nursery. So let's look at each of these in turn. This is a red Deshojo maple. Of course, it hasn't got any color at the moment, but I'll show you pictures of it when it has color. And this was again created from field-grown material. This one was an imported juniper. This is the winter color, hence it's brown, but normally it's very bright green. This is an imported tree. But if we move to the next one, this maple again is produced from our own field-grown trees, field-grown maple, and has been developed for the last 20 or 30 years. If we look at this very large forest here, this forest is always an eye-catcher at Wisley. Everyone wows about this group. But this group is not very old. I used ordinary cedar of Lebanon to make this forest, and it was made only about 10 years ago, and it has been on show here since 2012. I have 9 trees, but one tree has unfortunately died, but I won't take it out because it may upset the balance of the composition. One dead tree in this composition doesn't hurt, but as you can see, it is a magnificent group and was made on the nursery. So there's nothing imported here. At Wisley, we have about 4 or 5 large trident maples. And these trident maples again were imported as stumps back in 1993, and all the superstructure has been developed by myself at the nursery. So when they come from Japan, they have no branches, they're just stumps, and the branches have been created here. And look at the beautiful nebari on this tree. This large group was made by myself back in 1975. So this forest is probably more than 40 years in the making. When I first made it, the trees were not so thick, they were only very thin, thinner than a pencil. But at the time, I used very tall trees to make the forest, and it caused quite a sensation because no one had ever thought of using tall trees and small trees in the same group. It's still very effective, and it's been like this for the last 40 years as a bonsai forest. And as we move along, this is a large mountain maple, Acer palmatum, again made from some of the field-grown trees that we develop at Heron's. So it just shows that it doesn't take very long to make nice bonsai from native material. Moving on, this again is an ordinary Scots pine, and although it's an ordinary Scots pine, you can see that it has been made just by wiring all these intricate branches here, the branches coming back on themselves. This have all been achieved by wiring. See, the wires have made the branches come backwards. So this is an ordinary Scots pine, which again we grow on our nursery. This is a large mulberry stump. The stump comes without branches, and again all the branches have been developed on the nursery, and this one fruits regularly every year. This beech is an ordinary European or English beech, and this was made when I wrote my second book, Bonsai Masterclass, and this was dug out from the hedge in front of my house at Herons. So it's been about 30 years in the making, but it's been on show here for the last 10 years. And beech bonsai are very easy to create, and I'm very proud of this one because it was nothing but a stump, and all the superstructure has been created in the last 20 or 30 years. An ordinary conker tree. We love conker trees on the nursery because they are English native trees, and this has red flowers, in fact. Another of our trident maples, again created from a stump. And this, of course, is the very famous Blow's juniper, which appears in my second book, Bonsai Masterclass. If you go to Bonsai Masterclass, you will see how this tree was created from scratch. This is a very large dwarf Scots pine, bonsai made from Pinus sylvestris and a variety called Bouverensis. I started creating this bonsai in 1980, so it's only 33 years since it was an ordinary nursery tree, and all this refinement and branches has been created since 1985, I think, when I started creating the bonsai. But the tree itself must be about 60 years old because it was a tall tree. I chopped it there and pulled one of the side branches up to make the new leader. But as you can see, because it's been training for so long, the branches have become very thick. But it still gives immense character to this tree. This is another Bouverensis that we made on the nursery. So this is the homemade tree. This was one of the stumps of trident maple that we imported from Japan in 1993, but the superstructure has been created since that time. So all the branches have been developed since 1993. And again, beautiful nebari, beautiful roots, and beautiful holes or euro in the trunk. This was an Austrian black pine that I made about 10 years ago, and this was only made from ordinary nursery stock. Chop the top and grew the branches. So you can see what can be made from just ordinary Pinus austriaca, Austrian black pine. I think this is a very handsome tree. Again, a native homemade tree. I love my larches. And this is a Japanese larch that we develop on the nursery. We have hundreds of these trees, but this one has been at Wisley for quite a few years. Again, this one is an ordinary Acer palmatum or mountain maple, again developed from nursery stock which we grow on the nursery. So as you can see, more than half of the trees here at Wisley are created at Herons, and not many of them are